So thank you very much for inviting me today. And my role is the centre head here at Maggie's in Cardiff. And my job is I offer cancer support to patients and their families for the Cardiff and South East Wales area. Really lucky to have a team of professionals that work with me. We've got clinical psychologist, benefits advisor and cancer support specialists alongside us. So Maggie's provides practical, emotional and social support for people with cancer and their families and friends. We've got a growing network of centres across the UK and online. Originally, there was only ever going to be one Maggie's based in Edinburgh, and now there are 25, and we're a rapidly growing organisation. So why do you think there's the need for cancer support? Well, the NHS, as we've already heard, does an amazing job in clinical care, but sometimes time is limited. And this can affect not only sort of the patient, but also the family members as well. And as we alluded to earlier, sometimes it's about making sure that there's support for all, and that's a really, really important thing. Some of the questions that we're faced with people that just appear in Maggie's are things like, how am I going to tell my friends and family and my child? And am I going to die? Will I be able to work and pay the bills? Should I have asked more questions? And as Sarah alluded to, sometimes it's about us being able to sit down with somebody, talk through the options and allowing them, people to formulate questions that they can go back then to their clinical team and giving them the time to sort of have that time to find that out. We also talk about how things, when they supposedly go back to normal, when they finish their treatment, and how we can help them with that. So as we've said, the challenges not only affect the person, but it also affects their family and friends too. And very often, family and friends feel very lost and isolated. And here at Maggie's, we find that very often people find that the person with cancer is their priority, and their needs as well sometimes get a bit lost and they don't quite know where to turn to. So here at Maggie's, we hope that we can help support that family too. Sometimes it's just about sitting with somebody, allowing them to sort of express their fears and worries, and just how to frame conversations and or even just to start conversations. And I think that's a really key point. The buildings, for those of you who've been, are beautiful, and they just allow people some space and some time sometimes to just reflect and just to stop and just to process sometimes what's happened. We get very practical questions like, how do I pay the mortgage if my wife isn't able to because of the treatment? We've got an amazing benefits advisor who sits with somebody and can spend sometimes up to an hour and a half with somebody going through various forms to help them and just to make life a little bit easier. We also can help parents who are really sort of anxious about telling their children that they've got cancer, and how we can help them to sort of manage their own expectations really, and they do an amazing job, and they're the best place to do that. So it's about helping them with some of the resources that we've got to make sure that they feel supported to do that. So for those of you that don't know, this is Maggie. Maggie Keswick-Jenks was a lady who 25 years ago this year was diagnosed with a secondary breast cancer. She was diagnosed in Edinburgh Hospital and was given a diagnosis in a clinical environment, was given the news by the consultant and then told to go and sit and wait for the clinical nurse specialist to come. There was a plastic chair. There was no windows in the room, and her and her husband sat there and just cried. And basically she thought that there's got to be a better way. There's got to be more support. So Maggie was a garden designer and her husband was an architect. So they set up a motion to develop Maggie's. And basically they developed the first Maggie's in Edinburgh. Unfortunately, Maggie never saw the first Maggie's Centre, but her husband and her children are very much still involved. And as I said, there was only ever going to be one, and now there are 25, and they're all amazing buildings, all very, very different. The idea is that they're a home from home. There's somewhere where there's no uniforms, there's no clocks on the walls, and there's normally, not pre-COVID days, there's no appointments. But some things had to change a little bit, obviously with COVID. But the idea is that it's a space, and sometimes we get visitors that just come to the centre, not necessarily wanting anything, but just to find some space and a moment of reflection, and that's really, really important. So this is our beautiful building. We're very biased. It's a beautiful building next to Velindre Cancer Centre. We've been here now 2 years. Obviously, quite a bit of that has been within the COVID days, so things have changed from when we first started. The idea is normally that you would just drop in, but at the moment we're working on an appointment basis. The most important place within Maggie's is the kitchen table, and that's very much where people are welcomed into the centre. It's a very relaxed, informal atmosphere, and very often it still amazes me that, you know, when people come, sometimes they find support just by sitting and chatting to someone else who may be waiting to go over for radiotherapy. It might be their first time, but it's really important, and that peer support is so important. This is the room that I'm in, actually, which is quite a nice room. We use these rooms for sort of group sessions, for one-to-one support with our clinical psychologist, and we just move things around, and and sometimes people just use them for just some space on their own. Our cwtch, which is in the middle of the centre. Cwtch, obviously the Welsh word for hug. The idea is that you're in the middle of the centre, you're surrounded by people, and that you can just find some space. The curtain draws, the little window shuts, but it's beautiful when it's open because you can see out into our little garden. And then the room at the top is our sort of huge activity room, where we normally undertake things like Tai Chi, relaxation, and just a lovely space. We do presentations, so it's multi-purpose. We're very lucky. So one of the things that our visitor says is that cancer focuses you remarkably, and you learn what is valuable in life. And as a family, walking into Maggie's was one of the best things we ever did, because it just gave us space. So Maggie's is for anyone and everyone. It's we get a lot of visitors that may have had their treatment, you know, before Maggie's was here, and sometimes there's that feeling that, am I allowed? Does it stop when I finish my treatment? And the answer to all those questions is no. We're here for you whenever you need us, whether you're currently on treatment, whether you're dealing with any issues around recurrence. A family member may have been diagnosed, and we'll also do some bereavement work as well. So for anyone at any time, so it's quite a big remit. We offer some practical support, and the practical support we offer sort of goes around. So for some patients that are having chemotherapy, their taste is affected. So we offer some nutrition workshops. We've got lots of our patients that experience really bad fatigue. So we run some collaborative workshops with the Cancer Centre around fatigue workshops, and Joe and I run some sleep workshops, which have been really popular. Just some practical things that help get people through the treatment. The emotional support that we offer is basically, at the moment, as I said, it's books appointments, but we offer some one-to-one support with a cancer support specialist, or if necessary, with the clinical psychologist. And that we would do an assessment when people first come into Maggie's. This is quite nice. A person said to me, there's a sense that sometimes you become an object when you're on treatment, and sometimes the things that happen too. And at Maggie's, I regain my identity. The social support is really important. So we do lots of groups. We've got, obviously at the moment, there's a little bit of a mix between online and in the centre. We're just slowly working things back. Things that we've got a gynae support group, we've got men's group, we've got lots of different various things. And that in itself allows people to have that social support, but also with the knowledge that we're around if people need us to access that. This used to be a typical day in Maggie's, and it probably still is, but obviously it looks a little bit different. We still are really lucky in that most of our things are up and running in some shape or form, whether it's virtually or in the centre. So at the moment, there's that little bit of movement towards coming back. But everything that we did pre-COVID, I think we've more or less got up and running now within the centre or online. Things like our relaxation session, actually, it works better online because it allows people to have that time to themselves, and then to be resting in their own home after, rather than driving home from Maggie's. So even though COVID has caused quite a lot of problems, there are actually some things that work better online, even though I never thought I would say that. And Maggie's allows us to just have time and space, and some of the things that we have conversation around, it allows us to be able to talk with patients in more detail, to give them the time. And sometimes it's just about some of the conversations that we have are around, you know, living with uncertainty, communication and relationships, returning to work after cancer treatment. how to live positively with and beyond cancer. And we offer various different workshops. We do a course called Where Now, which is for patients post-treatment. Suddenly there's that little bit of a tie. They've had all this support within the cancer centre. And the idea is their family and friends say that it should be finished now. You should be delighted that the treatment's all over. And actually they feel really scared and frightened. So actually that's a really good sort of a stepping stone to just support them. And these are just some of our supporters. So Michelle Obama visited our Maggies in London. And obviously we've got the Duchess of Cornwall, who's one of our ambassadors. And she's been to visit the Cardiff Centre, which caused a bit of chaos, but it was a lovely day. And just obviously we're supported by our generosity of all of our supporters. So that's a bit of a whistle-stop tour of Maggie's, and just to say thank you. And we're here to support you and your family in whatever way or shape that you feel that you need us. Thank you.